In the last 3 months, I've sent over 50,000 LinkedIn DMs for my agency, not including the 65 current clients we're working with. And in this video, I'm going to share 10 lessons that I've learned in the last year so that you can use those to get more clients using LinkedIn. So point number one is if you're not getting clients with LinkedIn, you need to spend more time making your outreach better and less time making your outreach automated. So Elon Musk has a 5-step design process, which is question the requirements, delete irrelevant steps, optimize the system, accelerate timelines, and then automate, right? Now, the 4 first things are all about making the system actually perform better. And the last thing is about making it more automated and requiring less manpower, right? But the reason why he does it like that, right? The problem with automating first is if you automate first, what you do is you actually confine yourself to that specific automation, making it more difficult to build an outreach strategy that actually works, right? So this is the thing, is that you can automate any kind of outreach process that you build, but you can't build any good outreach process that necessarily fits into a specific automation. So I'll give you an example. So for my business, we use LinkedIn voice notes for the connection message, which works super well. And the reason why we were able to build that is because we started with trying to make the best possible strategy rather than making it the easiest to automate, right? So for example, if I started, this is the software that I'm going to use to automate the outreach, and then I'm going to build my process around that, what would have ended up happening is I would have never started or never even thought to use voice notes, because all these outreach strategies don't even allow for voice notes to be sent and don't allow for voice note like any personalization at that level, right? But by focusing on the thing that was allowing me to make the system good in the first place, then I was able to get that groundwork and figure something out that was actually good, and then figuring out how to scale it and figuring out how to automate it, right? And which allowed me to actually scale by hiring more people rather than using a typical software, right? But the point here is that if you don't have something that works at the start, you're not going to have much success in the long term. Point number 2 is that after a prospect is interested, you have to follow up with them on every single channel, because 90% of the money is going to be in the people who don't book right away, okay? So let me tell you a story. Now, when I was building my initial LinkedIn outreach system, what I would do is I would send them a voice note. If they're interested in that voice note, which would be 15% of people, I would send them a pitch, and then 20% of the people who I would send a pitch to actually scheduled in, right? Which overall was about a 2.5% booking rate. Now, when I gave this system and I hired my first appointment setter, he actually got a 10% booking rate, and he was able to convert 60% of the people who were interested in what we were saying to actually book a call. Okay, now what he did, the simple change he made to triple the amount of revenue we were generating from LinkedIn, is after someone showed interest in that initial voice note, what he would do is he would call them if they didn't book in right away. If they didn't pick up the call, he would also text them, and then he would email them, and he did that up to 8 times for people who didn't book in. So there was no one that was saying, right, or there was no one that was ghosting us. It was either a yes or a no, and we were able to maximize on all of the people who we were actually talking to, right? And the reason why this works is because you're probably thinking to yourself, that sounds like a ton of work, and that's what most people are thinking, right? But when everyone out there is looking for the easiest, the simplest, the most automated way to get clients, all of the results are going to coming from doing what most people are unwilling to do. Rule number 3 is to position your profile in a way where your ideal client would actually want to have a conversation with you. The biggest indicator of how high your connection rate is going to be and how high your response rate is going to be is actually not what you're saying, but it's who is saying it, okay? And in other words, the more relatable you are to your specific ideal client, the more successful you're going to be, okay? So I'll give you an example of this. One of my clients, his name is Donovan. I've talked about him in previous videos. He's been able to get over a 10% booking rate from LinkedIn, meaning 1 out of 10 people that he sends a message to is actually booking a call with them, and he has like a 30% conversion rate on these sales calls, okay? Now, the reason why he's able to do that is because he targets motivational speakers, and he actually used to be a motivational speaker, and his LinkedIn profile looks like he's a motivational speaker because he actually is, right? So when he's connecting with someone and when he's reaching out to someone, what the person on the other side sees is not someone who's trying to pitch them, not some quote unquote expert in their field, not someone who's the best at solving this problem, but it's actually someone who's similar to them that they might be interested in having a conversation with, right? Because if you're a motivational speaker, you're not going to want to talk to someone who's a motivational speaker guru who's going to help you scale your like speaking engagements, right? You're going to want to talk to someone who's probably like you, right? And because he has a profile like that, he's been able to get super high connection requests and he's been able to get a super high booking rate because these people actually want to talk to him, right? So when you can position your profile like this where you're similar in more ways to your client, that's where you're going to see super high response rate, right? And you can take this principle and you can expand this into different things, right? So what I've actually been able to test myself is that people who are in the same city as the person you're targeting are significantly more likely to respond to you, right? So I'm based in Canada and I have my profile set to outreach specifically to people inside of my province, inside of Canada, and that has allowed me to get a significantly higher connection rate on average, right? And I have all these different profiles in all these different states, and I only reach out to people within the same state because, again, there's more similarities. So the more similarities you have between your profile and the person you're trying to reach, the higher likelihood it is for them to book a call with you and for them to buy from you. By the way, if you want to stop your endless scroll on YouTube trying to find the magic video that's going to help you get way more clients, there is a link in the description below that explains how we've been able to scale over 80 other marketing agencies and how we might be able to help you do that as well. Point number 4 is you want to aim for positive reply rates of at least 10% or higher and meeting booked rates of at least 2.5% or higher. Now, what I found from talking with over 500 agency owners is all of them are trying to find the silver bullet, right? They're trying to find this magical script that's going to get half of the people they reach out to book. They're trying to find these like golden leads that are going to have $1 million in budget and just book right away. But the reality is that that doesn't exist, right? So this is something that Alex Hormozi says a lot that's helped me out a ton is more, better, new, okay? And what that essentially means is you're not trying to find the perfectly optimal system. All you need is you need something good enough that you can increase the volume on so that you can scale, right? Because that's fundamentally what scale is just increasing the volume. So if you have something, right, that's profitable and that's working at a 2.5% meeting booked rate, instead of putting all of your energy and all of your time into trying to get that to 3.5%, it's so much easier just to do double, triple, quadruple, 5x the outreach rather than trying to make it so much better, or even more so, trying to switch to another channel on top of LinkedIn, right? So when you're looking at your outreach, if you have something that's above 2.5%, the problem isn't how do I make this 5%? The problem that you have to solve is how do I do 10 times more of what I'm already doing? You need to scale your outreach using setters, not by using automation. So 99% of people, what I see, when they have a strategy that is working, but it's taking too much of their time, they'll instantly look for some sort of automation, some sort of robot, some sort of piece of code that's going to fix their problem, that's going to do more for them, right? And what often happens after that is it completely stops working because by having to put their strategy that's working into some piece of code, it actually gets diluted and it's not as good as it was before, right? So when you're trying to scale, you have to duplicate yourself, not dilute the system, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you walk into this restaurant with your friend, right, and you order some smoothie, okay? Let's say it's a great smoothie and your friend's like, I want some, okay? So obviously you wouldn't do this, right? But this is the analogy, is you could get another cup, right? And you could put half the smoothie in their cup and then you could top both of them up with water, right? So you have 2 smoothies now. Obviously they're diluted, right? Now, both of those smoothies now are probably going to taste like shit, right? So you're getting even like worse results, I guess, but you had the same, like, and the inputs you're using are the same, right? And this is what ultimately you're actually doing when you're putting your system that's working into a software, right? It might allow you to be able to do more outreach. It might allow you to be able to send more messages, but what it's not allowing you to do is send the same quality of messages as you would have if you were doing it manually yourself, right? So obviously, what you need to do if your friend wants your smoothie is you order another one, even though it's going to cost you more. It's better than giving them a shit smoothie, right? And obviously, hiring a setter, yes, it's going to cost you more than purchasing some code that's going to do the outreach for you. But for as long as you continue to dilute the system that you're using just to send more outreach, the longer you're going to stay stuck ultimately, and the longer it's going to take for you to actually get the appointments you need to be able to scale your business. Point number 6 is to test new scripts every single week. All systems die unless energy is used to maintain them, and that's just a law of entropy, okay? So if you run ads, you will know that the key to running successful ads is to make dozens and dozens and dozens of ads and test between all of them and see what works, right? Because if you run an ad for a long period of time, eventually it's going to stop working and no ad is going to continue to work forever, right? And the reason why is because of ad fatigue, and the exact same thing applies to outbound, is that if you keep using the same script for a prolonged period of time, the results will drop and you will not make any money from it, okay? So here's my process to make sure that that doesn't happen, all right? So every single week, I will sit down and I will write probably 5 to 10 scripts, and I'll take the top 3 of those and I will test those from the next week alongside the control that I know is already working, right? Once I have done that, I'll be able to tell by the end of the week or by the end of the next week after that, which one is the top performer, which one is like middle, and which one is the worst, right? From that pool, I will use the one that performs the best from there on out, and then I will continue to make new tests to improve over and over and over again, right? And this is how I found that the best people to reach out to are going to be people in the same state as the person, who have second connections with them, and who have recently posted on LinkedIn. And this has allowed me to make more and more and more progress to being able to maintain my high conversion rate and be able to make more money. The key to outbound is to continually test over and over and over again. Point number 7 is to only talk about what people want to buy from you, not what you want to sell to them, okay? So gyms do not want marketing campaigns or Facebook ads. What they want is more members. E-com brands do not want an optimized site. The only thing that they want is more checkouts, okay? The prospect should not even know what you do before they get on a call with you. They should only know the problem that you can help them solve, because they're booking the call to learn more about how you can do that. The only 4 things you need to actually get someone to book is, number 1, a unique mechanism, which is a vague way of describing what you do that sounds intriguing. So for me, I would use something like AI outbound appointment booking infrastructures, which people would say, what is that? Probably something I want to learn more about, which is why they book the call, right? The second thing is a point B, so what they actually want. So for gyms, more members; for e-com stores, more checkouts; for contractors, like more roofing replacements if they do roofing, right, etc. The next thing you need is a time frame. So when can they actually expect to see this result? So my offer is 120 appointments. That's the point B. In 120 days is the time frame. And then the last thing you need is reason to believe that you can actually do what you do. There's 3 things that you can use to get them to believe that you can do what you do. Number 1 is to work for free if you don't have results, or work on commission is better than doing that, right, if you don't have results. Number 2 is to actually show proof that you've helped people similar to them get the result that they want to get. And then number 3 is to show that you've actually been doing this for yourself, right? And obviously the latter 2 are more powerful, but you can use the first one if you don't have the latter 2. Never provide value before the prospect books the call, only provide value after they book the call. So what a lot of people will try and do is they're going to send people lead magnets, they're going to send people all this like crap that they think is going to help them believe that they can do what they do because they provided value up front, right? But a lot of the times what that is doing is that is just slowing down the process, that is adding more friction for the person who is like trying to book the call to actually book the call. Because if they have to watch this like 5 to 10 minute video before they actually schedule, what's going to end up happening is they're going to delay and they're going to delay and they're going to delay, and it becomes actually difficult to get them to consume the value, and you're going to get less people to book the call, okay? Now, you have a dilemma here. Obviously, the people who see the value are going to have a higher chance of closing than the people who do not, but you're also going to lose people who would have booked a call otherwise if you didn't try and shove this lead magnet into their face. So what I've done to actually overcome this, right, is what you want to do is you want to make it as frictionless and as easy as possible to get them to book a call and provide as little value as possible before they actually schedule. But after they book the call, send them an email with like a 20-minute Loom video or a 20-minute YouTube video showing them a ton of value, why you can actually solve their problem, what the main problems are for similar people in this industry, and why you are actually qualified and why you have actually solved it. When you do that, number 1 is you're going to get a significantly higher amount of meetings because you're keeping the process to book completely frictionless, and you're also increasing the amount of people who have seen the value before the call, which is going to allow you to, again, have those higher close ratios and basically just sign more clients. Point number 9 is you want to personalize your message, but you don't want to personalize the framework of the conversation. Okay, so for example, if you go to buy a car, right, there's certain things that you can customize or personalize to yourself, right? Like you can change the color of the car, you can change like some interior features of the car, but you can't actually change the design of the car, right? The reason why that is, right, and this will make sense if you think about it, is because if there was a if you could just customize exactly the shape of the car and everything about the car, you wouldn't be able to have a predictable, repeatable way to actually create the car, right? They would have to have an entirely new process for every single car that they create, right? And what would end up happening is they wouldn't be able to have a predictable and a consistent way to produce a consistently a good quality of car, right? Because it would be different every time. The exact same thing applies with LinkedIn outreach and outreach in general, right? You can personalize different parts of the script, right? Like you can add their name, you can add their company, you can even add like a personalized line about one of their case studies that they had, which is what we do for one of our scripts, right? But if you're personalizing the entire structure of the conversation, what you're going to end up seeing is as you scale and as you bring on setters, right? All of these setters are going to have different results, right? Because they're going to be following different structures, and you're going to have wildly inconsistent weeks, wildly inconsistent people on your team, and you're not going to be able to predictably grow your business. So you have to keep the conversation structure the same every single time. Point number 10, and this is by far the most important point, is you have to use reactivation campaigns and you have to message old prospects who told you no before. What most people will do is they'll outreach to someone once and then they will forget that they exist after they say no. What we're doing, and I have made well over $10,000 doing this, is I am reaching out to the same people who told me no 3 months ago, because so much can change in just 3 months, and you would be surprised at the amount of people who would be interested now that weren't interested 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, and you will make a ton more money just by reaching out to people who you already reached out to. If you like this video, you are going to love the next one that goes in detail as to exactly how I sign 10 to 20 clients every single month.